Hello friends, Chris Carpenter and
Rosalind Graham.
here with SuperHero Homes Real Estate at Keller Realty Boise, and we have a very special market update for you. You may or may not have heard that there has been litigation focused on how real estate brokerages are compensated, specifically how the compensation is established and disclosed for the selling brokerage, or that being the brokerage representing the buyer.
That's right, and there is a lot of history and litigation that led to the current process that we have to compensate buyers for representation. In the early 1980s and 90s, it was much more common for a buyer to have the agent who represented the seller, so the listing agent, write up an offer on the buyer's behalf. But that did create a lot of issues.
That's surprising.
That was sarcasm. So as a result, there was a lot of effort put into establishing a more clear process for buyers to hire an agent to represent their interests in a real estate transaction. And one of the ways was to give sellers the opportunity to offer compensation for a buyer's broker. And that helped more buyers be able to have representation, since the cost is prohibitive when combined with the lender fees and the down payment and the closing costs, also things that the buyer has to pay for.
It might even be, I guess for us, safe to say, Rosalind, without that help, the majority of our buyers probably wouldn't have been able to buy a home.
That's exactly right. The buyer already has to save up the down payment and budget for the closing costs and all of the other requirements in the transaction. And if they also have to pay for a realtor, then they wouldn't be able to buy a home in a lot of the cases that we see, including that would apply to me when Sean and I bought our first home, and that would also apply to our children who have purchased homes.
So it's a crazy idea to think that maybe sellers were including that to help sell their home more quickly.
Oh, of
Oh,
course.
it's crazy. All right. In March of 2019, a group of attorneys in Illinois filed a lawsuit arguing that the requirement for properties listed on the multiple listing service, or MLS, that the requirement to disclose compensation offered to the buyer's broker allowed the industry to conspire on commission. In part, they believed that buyer's agents could steer clients away from homes where sellers offered a lower commission.
Which doesn't make any sense, because as agents, we are required to show whatever property our buyers want to see.
Yeah, regardless of that commission.
Right.
Well, didn't matter. 2 months later, the same lawsuit was filed in Missouri. And after years of litigation, the National Association of Realtors, or NAR as you might hear it called, along with several national real estate brokerages, including Keller Williams, settled. This settlement was motivated by NAR's commitment to protect its members, again, that's us, and preserve choices that consumers have regarding real estate services and compensation. And so those would be your choices.
So the really important part here is that the National Association of Realtors does not set commissions. They never have. They are and have always been negotiable.
Yeah.
The rule that has been the subject of litigation requires only that listing brokers communicate an offer of compensation. And that offer can be any amount, from zero to whatever.
Yeah. And we've seen those numbers. We've seen
Yes, we
0,
have.
1.5, seen 2. Yes. So here we are. We have a $1.8 billion settlement that has yet to be finalized. When and if it is finalized, what changes will occur? Well, buyers will still have to enter into an agreement with selling brokerages to be represented by an assigned agent, in which commission is clearly defined.
And the seller will still have to enter into a similar agreement with the listing brokerage, and will still have the option to offer compensation to the selling broker, which is the brokerage representing the buyer.
Yeah. And finally, compensation being offered to the buyer's brokerage by the seller will no longer be disclosed on the multiple listing service.
Which doesn't make any sense to us.
Yes.
But that's okay.
So it would be information that now just requires a phone call, I guess. So,
Right.
well, to take this a bit further, maybe you have heard other information on podcasts, morning shows, and any news industry that you can think of about this settlement. And I know we've heard on multiple times that there is the belief that this litigation is somehow going to lead to the decrease in real estate value or dropping in prices.
That's not
It
going to
doesn't seem likely. That seems hard to believe.
Nope.
Yes. So here is our commitment to you. Over the next few weeks, we're going to do some shorter videos on the topic, and we'll discuss some of the things we're hearing and also bring some information that we're finding.
Right, because we just gave you a whole lot of information, and there's still more details to think about. So look for those, and
Yes.
we have a lot more explanations coming your way.
Yes. And if you've got information, send it our way. But for today, we're good, you're good, and we'll look forward to next time.
See you later.